Well, today I want to show you how this Nano Riparium jar is doing after 2 months. I have encountered a few problems so far, and I'll share those with you, but really it's nothing too out of the ordinary for a new setup. I'll talk about what I do for maintenance, and we'll just see how these Riparian plants are actually doing. And hopefully this video will help you in case you want to make a setup like this. And later, there is a particular question that I want your opinion on, so please be ready to leave a comment in a few minutes. Well, let's look at the plants now and see how they're doing. The submerged plants that I have in here are Brazilian pennywort, Java moss, and either pearlweed or baby tears. I get them mixed up and I can't remember which one I have. Here on the surface I have trimmed them back once already, and I may need to do it again pretty soon. I did have guppy grass growing in here as well, but it is all pretty much died out now. Probably just not enough light and nutrients to support it. A number of you have told me that you're struggling to grow spider plants, and yes, I have had my own troubles with it, but I have found that it does best for me if I don't put all the roots in the water. I keep the crown above the water as well as some of the roots. And you know, the older leaves are going to die back, but as long as there's new ones coming out to replace them and it's continuing to grow, you know, there's no need to worry about that. It has not been a long-lived riparian plant for me in most setups, but I still like to use it, and with a potted spider plant growing in soil just as a regular house plant, I can have a steady supply of plantlets to use. Well, unfortunately, I did not position this Monstera adansonii to grow up the tree branch like I had intended, but hey, it's healthy, it's strong, it's growing well, so I won't complain. But the roots are reaching down, starting to grow into the substrate, which is what I want. And I'm even wondering if this Monstera will need some liquid fertilizer in this setup. I'm not sure this one Betta can produce enough waste to feed it. The inch plant, or wandering Jew, is growing up the tree branch, however, and rather quickly. And these plants were started from cuttings, and I try to keep the stems of this particular plant out of the water, but still have the roots in the water. It seems to do best for me this way. Otherwise, I end up with a lot of stem rot when I'm using inch plant. As far as lighting goes on this setup, I am using a GROWLIGHT bulb, a full spectrum GROWLIGHT bulb that's running for 8 to 9 hours per day. Now, it's a good bulb for this kind of setup, and it's inexpensive compared to other full spectrum bulbs, and I would definitely use it again. I think I made a good decision using it, and I'll be sure to leave a link in the description for you in case you want to try it out as well. And let's not forget about the star of our show, the Delta male Betta. He has been such a great little guy. Now, I've had Bettas before, of course, but I'm always amazed how these little fish can have such big personalities. So how often am I doing water changes, and what's the biggest issue that I've had so far? Well, during the first 4 weeks, I did partial water changes once a week. Now, during this time, the driftwood started leaching a lot of tannins, and I did have some blue-green algae or cyanobacteria show up. So I caught it early, thankfully, removed what I could manually, and then did hydrogen peroxide treatment to knock it back. Now, during the last 4 weeks or so, I've only had to do 2 water changes. The cyanobacteria seems to have calmed down, plants are growing well, things just seem more balanced. The ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate levels have not even been showing up on the water test since that first week. In hindsight, I probably could have boiled the driftwood, and that may have prevented the cyanobacteria. I don't normally do that to driftwood, but since I'm using so much of it in such a small space, it may not have been a bad idea. If the cyanobacteria persists, I may need to do a more intensive treatment with an antibiotic. But I'd like to avoid that if possible, because that can harm the beneficial bacteria as well as killing the cyanobacteria. Well, since we're talking about Betta fish, I have a question for you. Do you think this 2-gallon container is too small for a Betta? Now, my opinion on the matter is that this is probably the smallest size container I would use for a Betta fish. In my other videos, I normally use a 10-gallon tank for these Betta fish projects, but I think these fish can still live a healthy life in a container this small. I just probably wouldn't go any smaller than this. So let me know what you think in the comments section. If you haven't seen the build video for this Nano Riparium jar, then check out that video link in the description below. Now, in the build video, I'll show you the steps of how I built this, but also give you links to materials and plants, etc., things that I used in this project. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you will join me again next time, and remember, it's all about the plants.